Hi everyone, my name is Jax. My handles are Sweet Nebula Cosplay. Today I will be discussing a very important subject that I have been quiet on for quite some time. I do have it written down just so I can keep my thoughts straight, so if I'm looking off to the side and seem to not have any emotions, please don't think that's because I am telling a lie or fabricating this. It is because I have to keep focused on this so I don't mess up my words, so nothing can be taken the wrong way. During this video, I will be talking about some very serious subjects. Appropriate trigger warnings are going to be added now. There will be discussions about abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, mental and emotional abuse, as well as mention of minors and mentions of adult themes. Viewer discretion is advised. So to begin, I would like to make it well known to the has-been, Hell of a Boss, Undertale, and South Park cosplay community that there is a very dangerous individual that you need to be aware of. Their name currently is Lucid Dream Chaser. That is their handle on TikTok. That is their handle on YouTube. They may, you may also know them by their aliases as Lucid Star Chaser or Lovey Dove Cosplays. They're a very mentally unstable individual that has done a lot of things to other people. Really bad things. To date, from everything that I have received, Lucid has sexually abused, physically abused, and raped adults. They have stolen and crashed vehicles that they did not own. They have physically, verbally, and mentally abused their mother. They have verbally abused their sister, who has a severe mental disability and has not stopped playing with themselves in front of her when she has entered their bedroom. They have groomed minors, including showering in front of them with their camera on in AVC, been in only underwear and a shirt, in video voice calls, and they have shown porn to a 12-year-old child. They are dangerous and should be kept at a distance from anyone at all costs. Some of these stories I will be explaining down below or throughout the video. Others I won't be able to expand on at this time as I'm still gathering information on them, as well as some people wish to remain anonymous. So I will start from the beginning. I met Lucid, or at the time Blue, back in, I want to say, 2018 to 2019. Somewhere in there. I had just graduated high school and I started on TikTok, and I've been on this app since at least 2018, so it was 2018, 2019. They had recently broken up with their at the time partner, who I will refer to as E. During our first year or so of friendship, Lucid would constantly complain of E, claiming they were abusive and never open to a healthy relationship. As I learned through recent interactions with other people, E was actually very abused by Lucid. There was never a time where Lucid left them alone. It had to always be about Lucid. They forced E to do a lot of sexual things. They followed them into the shower. There's a whole bunch of things, but since it is not my story to tell, there's only so much I can let you guys know. So I will continue. As time continued, I got to know Lucid more. I became the emotional punching bag. Anytime there was an issue in their Discord server, family, friends, or exes, I would be the one they turned to. It was always in a voice chat, so I don't have screenshots of a lot of it, but I do remember a lot of just, the yelling and the crying and just being the verbal punching bag. Whenever I would make small mistakes or simply misspeak, it would turn into a huge fight with them, always ending with me apologizing and begging Lucid not to leave me or hurt themselves. They would consistently talk about committing on a live on themselves, and I would often have to talk them out of it. Eventually, things seemed to smooth out and we were as thick as thieves for a time. From 2019 through 2020, we were best friends and I was always there for them despite the blatant mental abuse. Sometime during 2020, I found out, due to an anonymous source, that Lucid was found showing an, at the time, 12-year-old porn. I was unsure of how long the exposure was for, but I know the story behind it. Lucid brought the minor into a locked, adult-only voice chat to do this. I have also been told that their Discord server was almost banned due to inappropriate actions against minors. I will add some screenshots here so you can take a look.
Oh my God.
Fast forward to early 2021. Lucid had began to act off, rarely responding to my messages, or if they did, it would be very short messages. After a time, I had found out that they had joined an Undertale cosplay group, Undead Souls. I supported them, joined the fan server, and was there for them whenever they needed it. We began talking more once I had joined the group after some time of being on the fan server. Everything seemed to be going well until Lucid started to do some very off things. It started small, kicking people off of calls when they were asleep, as some of the calls would last up to 24 hours, sometimes 48 or longer. Because this was peak COVID time, so that was one of the few things we could do. Showering when minors were on the phone, while leaving their video on, and only wearing a shirt and underwear with their camera on while minors were on call. It eventually escalated when people started to show interest in our group leader, who they had feelings for. They pushed everyone away from the owner, Axel. They caused rifts in relationships between people and the owner, and eventually Axel got tired of the constant abuse and blatant ignorance from Lucid. So they pushed Lucid away. Keep in mind, Axel and Lucid were never together at this time. Lucid forced this on Axel and pretended they were together. I lost my track for a second, but yeah, I do remember this quite well, actually. It was a really hard time because a lot of us were trying to be friends with Axel, and Lucid was just not having it. They would push them away, saying that they were the only one for Axel and that they needed to talk to them, and would pull Axel away from a lot of calls and everything. And then eventually one day Axel just got seriously tired of it and said, no, enough's enough. We are not partners. You forced me to do this. I don't want to do this anymore. These are my friends. You need to respect that. Okay. After some time of them being on quote-unquote break, because that's what Lucid called it, me and a couple of other members finally expressed our feelings for Axel, which Axel seemed happy that other people had interest in them. Lucid, however, was not happy. They verbally attacked me and caused a massive fight in the group, to a point where I decided to leave, due to not wanting constant drama in my life or causing drama in the group. I also remember Lucid texting me, telling me that Axel was not healthy enough to be in a relationship with anyone, implying that they were the only one able to help or be the healthy enough partner. I am jumping over my words today. Ugh. But they were basically implying that they were the only one healthy enough to help Axel during this time or be their partner at this time. Eventually, after showing admin screenshots and explaining to them what Lucid did, I was allowed back into the group. All the while, I was still Lucid's friend, trying to support them and remaining the emotional punching bag. I stayed their friend for around 5 years, so I do know a lot of this. I'm just going to continue. Towards September, me and another member of Geno, September 2021, had decided that we would meet up with Axel. We had a set date, we're saving money, and anxiously awaiting the day that we would start traveling. Lucid found out and decided to go see Axel first, despite Axel refusing multiple times to see them. We found out through a group call that Lucid was going to go see Axel. It was actually really upsetting because first of all, Axel didn't want Lucid coming to the place where they lived, because the place where they lived was a safe space for them, and Lucid was not a safe person for them. They just ignored Axel and just came here of their own volition, didn't even ask, actually forced Axel to let them come in, and it just wasn't a good time. Lucid arrived around 1 to 2 weeks before me and Gino were to arrive. During this time, and to put it as gently as I can, Lucid touched, kissed, and sexually assaulted Axel. They were trying to force Axel to like them again, but instead hurt Axel and pushed them away completely. We called them out on this, and they completely denied it, but Axel told us the truth. I remember me, Gino, and one other of the admin crew seeing pictures that were posted and looking at them and realizing that Lucid was kissing Axel even though Axel didn't want it. And then Lucid, when we confronted them on it, claimed that it was just to say thanks or whatever, even though Axel said no. A week later, me and Gino drove 23 hours straight to come and meet Axel. Within 7 hours of our arrival, Lucid arrived at Axel's doorstep. That day was not a fun day. Me and Gino had drove 23 hours straight from our home state at the time to Axel's home state. We literally got here at 7 o'clock in the morning, about 7:15. We laid in bed, and then next morning I heard knocking on not next morning, about 12 o'clock in the afternoon, there was a knock on Axel's door, and we heard, "Hey Axel, there's someone here to see you. It's Lucid." I remember Gino getting so mad that I had to physically hold them back while Axel went to go and talk to Lucid. We eventually went out and talked to them and, whatever, and things seemed to be okay, but obviously me and Blake were extremely uncomfortable because this was supposed to be a time for me and them to meet and talk to Axel and hang out with Axel. The next day or two were hard it was a hard time for me to remember, were rough. Lucid attempted to make those days about them until we told them that we were going to a hotel, as the week was for me and Gino to get to know Axel better. Lucid threw a hissy fit, throwing things and yelling at us. Thankfully, they left and there was no more issues on that trip. During our trip, it was decided that me and Gino would move in with Axel. Lucid didn't like this and demanded us to move into an apartment. We kept telling them we would, just to get them off of our backs, but we had no intentions at the time to move into an apartment. Axel wanted us to stay here and just get settled. They didn't want us to automatically move into an apartment. They wanted us to get our feet underneath ourselves. And again, this was still a prime COVID time. A lot of jobs still weren't available. A lot of housing still wasn't available. And it was amazing that Axel even let us stay. We moved in around the last week of September, as we needed time to pack and everything. And Lucid, Gino, and Axel and I remained friends, but at a distance, so basically low contact, until about December of that year. Some things happened, and Gino and Axel got together, causing Lucid to spiral and threaten to unalive themselves. I remember them calling and texting me saying that they were going to hang themselves and that they were harming themselves with a pencil. I do have screenshots of pretty much everything that I am talking about here for the most part. I'm going to be creating a Google Doc and putting all the screenshots in that, and it'll be in the description below. The three of us eventually got Lucid to calm down a month or so later, thinking Lucid had gotten better. Gino and Axel brought forth the idea of having a poly relationship to Lucid. Lucid threw another mass hysteria episode, claiming Axel and them were meant to be together and they would never be in a poly relationship as they were jealous. I remember Lucid texting me and telling me that even though they'd only known Lucid maybe a few handful of months that Lucid was the one, or that Axel was the one for Lucid, and that they were going to marry and they were going to live in a house together and all this extra things. And the obsession ran really deep for a very long time, and it was scary, honestly, to kind of live through that, to see how obsessed they were with this one particular person, even going so far as to push boundaries and sexually assault them to get what they wanted. After that outburst, we all put distance between us and Lucid. Sometime in 2022, Lucid and I reconnected, as well as Axel and Gino. Lucid had moved and they had been getting therapy, so we all believed Lucid had indeed been getting better and getting the help they needed. Summer of 2022, they got into a poly relationship with Gino and Axel. Things seemed to be going well, so we invited them to come see us again. They came to see us on the last week of October. We did tell them that during the weekend of their trip, we would be a bit busy due to it being haunt season and we are haunt actors. We work out in a haunted attraction. The night they arrived, we again explained to them that we would be working that night, and they seemed to be understanding. The night came to an end, and we started to meet up in the parking lot. Axel hung back in part of the haunt, speaking to some of our friends, just to decompress and just let everyone know, hey, we're leaving for the night, just text us, things like that. Lucid was getting angry and telling me and Gino that Axel was ignoring them on purpose, and when they saw them, they were going to say/do something. To add to this, Lucid brought some stuffed animals for us. One of those animals was a plush snake with glass eyes, just for reference. Once Axel came back to the parking lot, me and Gino told Lucid not to do anything rash. They ignored us, stalked up to Axel, and hit them multiple times on the head with the snake, the glass eyes hitting Axel hard enough to leave welts on their neck. The next weekend, when we went back to the haunt, the makeup artist was asking like what happened because the welts were so big on their temple and I believe back here as well. The rest of the time they were here was a horror. Some of the things included them hitting and verbally abusing one of the dogs. They would constantly break boundaries even when reminded. They would emotionally lash out when they didn't get what they wanted. Literally asked Axel how their trauma was fair to them after being told Axel was not comfortable with touch, especially considering their last meeting. Claimed they were attacked by their mother. However, when we were able to communicate with the mother that week, the mother told us that Lucid attacked her because the mother didn't want Lucid living there anymore. They tried to do things to get me kicked out. An example, blaming things they did on me. They would basically use me as the verbal punching bag again when they were upset. Would slap me and my roommates just because they didn't care. Gino was sleeping one night or falling asleep and Lucid smacked them to wake them up. Hard as fuck. Called Axel annoying for being manic. One of the more alarming things to happen was when Lucid bought 3 sex pills, trying to force Gino to take one with them to have sex, even though Gino expressed how uncomfortable they were with that. Finally, the week came to an end and they went home. After some time to think, Axel and Gino broke up with Lucid. We were all kind of low contact with Lucid after that and only communicated a bit through the end of 2022 and most of 2023. Lucid did come to apologize for their actions and begged for forgiveness. We forgave them and hoped they would change their ways. After some time, they blocked Gino and Axel out of the blue one day in 2023. I remained in contact, expressing to them that this was their last chance with me. If they pulled anything like they did in October again, they would lose me permanently. I found out that they blocked Gino and Axel because they blamed them almost entirely for the relationship going sour, even though it was them. They continued to go to therapy, get their meds adjusted, and seemed to improve. I kept my distance, however, trying not to get hurt again. I met their most recent ex, G, the two of us becoming close friends. Their story is their own to tell, but I will say a few things. I found out that Lucid was mentally abusing G, claiming every problem was on G. Lucid would not take proper accountability for their actions against G, leaving G to feel absolutely terrible. In a couple VCs I was in with both of them, Lucid was passive-aggressive and sometimes downright nasty to G. Other things have had happen, but I will not be speaking on a story that's not mine at this time. To conclude, Lucid Dream Chaser, Lucid Star Chaser, or Lovey Dove cosplays is not a good person. They are a physical, mental, and sexual abuser. They are a child groomer. They don't change, and they have caused mass amounts of harm. Please be wary when interacting with them, as they will try to make themselves out to be the victim. Thank you for listening, and please ask questions if needed for clarification.